and take that risk and live that life abroad. And it's exciting for me to have the opportunity to create a platform where I can help them tell their stories and bring that information to people who might be considering pulling the trigger themselves. Hi, I'm Dyanimite from Dyanimite Investment Realty, based out of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and welcome to my channel. I'm from the US originally, and I actually left the United States in 2008, and I started my journey abroad living in San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua, where I accidentally started a nonprofit teaching local kids English as a second language and the arts and other things. So I ran this organization for about 13 years, and 9 years in, I wound up kind of growing it. It had stabilized. I started scaling it. I grew it throughout the local region where it was operating. And I even decided to scale internationally, which is what brought me to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. However, and I arrived in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico in 2017. However, in 2018, civil unrest struck Nicaragua, and it started to destabilize the organization, and that was closely followed by a pandemic. So we wound up suspending our Mexico operations, and soon afterwards dissolved our US 501c3 nonprofit organization, and I exited the organization. The Nicaragua organization, called Fundación Proyecto Barrio La Planta, is independently operational and still is operational to this day. In the meantime, I decided to start a life here in Puerto Vallarta. I met my husband, we got married, had 2 kids. My husband is originally from Houston, Texas, and our kids are Mexican nationals. So while we're starting this life here in PV, we noticed that something really exciting and special was happening in the real estate industry. So we noticed in the area where we're living, the values of the properties was doubling on an annual basis almost, and it was just incredible to see. And especially being from large US cities, which we had watched grow. We were younger, seeing the growth of the city here in Mexico, which is the second biggest city in Jalisco next to Guadalajara, and watching it be in this pivotal stage of growth is just a really exciting thing to be a part of. So we wound up researching and learning more about the market and decided to start a real estate business here. Drawing on the cross-cultural acumen developed after living in Latin America for over a decade, working closely with the local communities, being from the United States, y por supuesto hablando español, I was able to combine that with the business acumen I developed over a decade running an international NGO and several legal entities with dozens of employees, and of course managing the financial aspect of that and developing relationships with philanthropists with an investor focus and perspective. I've been able to combine those skills and perspectives to provide sound insight and consultation to my clients on the return of your investment here in the industry of Puerto Vallarta, and also, of course, taking into account the details of the local market. Also, moving abroad has really changed my life. I've made the decision to raise my kids abroad. I've learned so many things. I've fallen in love with Latin American culture. I love living in Nicaragua. I am very happy living in Mexico. And I know there's a lot of people who dream about moving abroad and think about it and might be considering pulling the trigger. And another really big focus for me, aside from consulting my clients, is the inspiration that we can get from people who have actually done it, and having the ability to tell their stories and to bring that to light and have a little bit of insight into the lived experience of people who choose to immigrate to Mexico from the US or Canada or other countries, or anywhere, and take that risk and live that life abroad. And it's exciting for me to have the opportunity to create a platform where I can help them tell their stories and bring that information to people who might be considering pulling the trigger themselves. After 15 years living abroad, I've learned a lot about navigating a foreign country, including, of course, immigrating legally is a big thing. All the legal process that's involved in, living and permanently residing in Mexico. The ins and outs of just daily life, as a mom, the schools and places, that I want to take my kids and the education they get, healthcare. My parents are older and retired, and I've, learned a lot too, navigating their visits and trips here and their exploration of the possibility of maybe moving here someday as well. Healthcare is another important thing that I've learned a lot about in this process. I gave birth to my kids here as well, and just what there is to do, and what the social life is, and the environment and the context, and everything. I really am excited to be able to share everything I've learned about life here in Puerto Vallarta with you, and I hope you enjoy the content, which covers everything from the lived experience of people who decided to move here, to daily life in Puerto Vallarta, to how to live here, to real estate tips and investment analysis. If you have anything you want to share about your experience living in Puerto Vallarta, or thoughts about maybe moving to Puerto Vallarta or other parts of Mexico, please leave a comment here on this video. All my links to get in touch with me, if you have any specific questions that you want to ask me directly, I'm really happy to answer them. All my links are in my About Me on my page, and also available in the video description right here. And please subscribe if you haven't yet.